we need to make sure that when a customer says, oh yeah, I've got forced placed insurance or my insurance is with the mortgage company, we need to educate them on the difference between an insurance policy and a mortgage placed insurance policy.
I think as an agency, you really, really have to step back, break it down to what is your single source of truth? Your single source of truth should be your agency management system. If it's not in the system, didn't happen.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a blog banter with me, Therese, and Bobby Fernandez. Thank you for joining me, Bobby, in this blog banter. Today, we are talking about customer service strategies for the insurance industry, handling an upset client. So, it is December, and it really isn't, but it is when you're watching this. It may be later. We're in the midst of holidays and we've got upset clients. What do we do? So we need to recognize how important WOW customer service is in our industry. And there are many different client frustrations that we deal with. Things like claim denials or delays, policy confusion, premium increases, and poor communication. Sometimes we have situations where there was poor communication with the carrier or with claims, and we have to take the brunt of that and pull it in and say, okay, hold on, and listen to the client for everything that happened. Let them talk about everything that happened. And then we have to have empathy. I understand, I went through a claim myself and had similar situations. So I went through a claim as an insurance agent, and I cannot imagine not knowing anything about insurance and trying to maneuver through this claim that I had. A lady ran a stop sign going 45 miles an hour. I was going straight 45 miles an hour, and she hit my rear rim. The weirdest thing about this is in my peripheral vision, I saw a maroon car and my mind went, oh, I'm going to get hit. And then boom, I had the car towed to an Allstate shop because that's what her insurance carrier was. Got to the shop like a week later to check on the car. The car was torn apart. The doors were open. The trunk was open. Everything in the trunk was tore out. And I didn't get time to go take everything out of the car. I had hot chocolate in the center console. When that car hit me, the hot chocolate went all over the door. Guess what was still all over the door?
Of course. Yeah.
So I was like, what is going on with my car? So that put a bad taste in my mouth because I'm a very clean person. I like my car to be clean, and it just wasn't clean, and it broke my heart. So this particular shop was awful. Like my bumper, I think my bumper had to be redone 5 times. I actually had to have someone come to my house to do a detail of the car, and I charged Allstate for it. And then my axle seals started leaking, and they made me take the car to Toyota to prove that it had to do with the accident and pay a $150 inspection fee to Toyota. And then they reimbursed me if I could prove that it had to do with the accident. I knew that basically there was no sense in calling. So it was on the other person's carrier anyway, but I did have to pull an insurance string and go up the chain and find somebody in Allstate because my claims adjuster changed 5 times in 4 months.
Yeah.
So when you have this situation where the carrier, so luckily in this case, you can push a lot of that stuff to the carrier. Okay, that's the carrier. That's not my agency. Our agency, we want to take care of you. Let me look into it. Let me call this person. You find ways to maneuver to where you blame the carrier, just like you blame the insurance commissioner for rates. In this case, you can blame the carrier, but we have to have empathy. I understand. I've gone through a car accident myself. I understand how frustrating it can be. Let me see what kind of solutions we can find for you. Let me see who I can call to help you. One of the things it talks about in the blog is techniques for practicing patience. How often do we look for techniques to practice patience? We don't, because we say we're too busy. We're always too busy, which is Kelly's most hated swear word. It's not the B word, it's busy. And it's because we use that word as an excuse not to do things. So techniques for practicing patience, just breathing techniques, listening to meditation music, but just calming down so we can have that patience and we can respond instead of react. Bobby, how would you explain complex insurance concepts clearly to a customer? What tips do you have for that?
It's funny. I just was at an agency yesterday. We do some icebreakers at meetings, right? So we go around the room and we do some icebreakers. And one of the icebreaker questions I had, I actually didn't have my cards. I used just icebreakers, but I loved this question. It was, how would you explain what you do to a 5-year-old?
Ooh.
So I thought that was really good. And it was a seasoned producer and actually prior agency principal that got this question. And so she has a 3.5-year-old granddaughter. And she was talking about the fact that when she helps take her to school, that they go by this house that has caught fire. And the granddaughter always wants to know, are we going to go by the house that caught fire? Because she wants to see it. She's very intrigued by this house that caught fire. And so Grandma explains to her that that's what she does. She helps people protect themselves in situations where, a fire might happen. So, how would we explain things, and we're going a little far down the shade. Like I'm probably not explaining to a 5-year-old. So we need to,
but still, avoiding the jargon, you can't use complicated language and jargon with a 5-year-old. So that's a great point.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I would love to challenge everybody to say, how would you explain what you do to a 5-year-old? And then maybe tear that out and say, how would I explain what I do to someone who doesn't know about insurance? And, a lot of times we make a lot of assumptions that people understand insurance because they've bought an insurance product before. But most of the time, they're not going to ask the question. They're not going to ask the question and they don't understand. And I saw a post recently. My aunt posted something on her Facebook and it was some clarification from a large bank owned carrier about, what claims are covered, what is financially insured by, the bank and what is not as far as insurance products. And there was a lot of questions. She had a lot of questions around, well, why? Why wouldn't, the bank be insuring my insurance product? Right. And like it almost started in an angry tone. And I'm like, well, that's not the bank. Right. It is a completely different thing. And so most people do not understand. And they may allude to the fact that they might understand and they're not going to tell you that they don't because they're embarrassed to tell you that.
Are you talking about like mortgage insurance, like when you buy a loan and the bank actually insures the home instead of insurance company?
Yeah. So it came out. Yeah. So there was an email that had gone out to all of the banking customers that says that the FDIC does not insure your insurance products.
Gotcha.
So people just assume that because they bought these insurance products through an agency that is a bank-owned agency, that their insurance product should be insured the same way, but it is not the same thing.
Well, and to my point, similar, if you have a mortgage and the mortgage company sees you don't have insurance, they'll force place insurance with their bank insurance. But that bank insurance has very little, the coverage is like the bare minimum. All they're doing is they're protecting their assets, their loan, so the house gets rebuilt, but they're not protecting your personal property. The deductibles could be super high because they're a bank. We need to make sure that, when a customer says, oh yeah, I've got forced placed insurance or my insurance is with a mortgage company, we need to educate them on the difference between an insurance policy and a mortgage placed insurance policy.
Yesterday I was having some conversations with a producer about everyone wants risks that are clean right now. All agencies are going after the same customers. All carriers are going after the same customers. And so we have to be able to set ourselves apart, right? We have to provide value in our knowledge and our skill. And so, how are we going to do that? We're going to care about our clients and we're going to be able to explain to them and have these conversations with them and educate them in ways that other agencies aren't taking the opportunity to do.
And that brings us to our next point: training and development for customer service representatives. I cannot tell you, in my 15 years in the insurance industry, I was in commercial very briefly. When I first started, they threw me into the commercial ring and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm totally lost. So I've been in service and sales and personal lines, operations and management. And then I jumped into marketing with no training and basically figured out the marketing. So I think in the insurance industry, we just assume that, okay, they took the licensing course, they took the licensing test, I'm going to throw them in the ring and they just have to sink or swim. So we don't get the phone training we need. We don't get the insurance knowledge we need. And I learn quickly, but I also like to learn from people. So I was in a room and you would think it was a small room, like almost like my office, which is just a bedroom, 3 different people in the same room, talking on the phone with no barriers but for me, it was perfect. It might have been frustrating at times, but it was perfect because if I didn't know how to do something, I would say, hold on, let me get one of them. And then I would listen to them. So I learned so much from those situations. But imagine somebody who doesn't have that opportunity to listen to other agents and to learn that way. I ended up teaching CE courses after like probably 10 years in the industry because I am a teacher. I'm a trained teacher and I wanted to use those skills. So I went into the CE side of it. And of course, then you have all the agents that are like 30-year agents and 50-year agents. And they're like, well, you've only been in the industry 10 years. I'm like, but the content that I'm teaching is North Carolina state content. All I am is a facilitator. So we teachers and trainers, we're the facilitators of the information, and you have to be able to be open-minded enough to grasp that information and hold on to it. And we did a webinar yesterday. We had 988 people sign up for this webinar. We had 554 people show up. And I love the question, did you learn something new? And when I see the word no, I'm like, that's a person with a closed mind. Because it's like, it doesn't matter what you tell them, they can't learn anything new because they've been in the industry and they know everything. So we have to keep the training and the development up with role-playing exercises, continuous improvement and feedback. We've got to kind of move with the industry. So moving with the industry, that gives me to my next point is technology and tools. What do you recommend for technologies and tools? So this one says utilizing CRM systems for client information, chatbots and AI-powered solutions, and automated follow-ups and reminders. So what do you suggest for technology when it comes to dealing with customers? How can we use technology with upsell clients?
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of ways that agencies can power their teams by adopting different types of technology, whether that is different types of platforms and tools and resources, AI, bots, VAs, even, there's a lot of different tools that we have out there. But what I want to encourage agencies to do is to step back, because a lot of times we'll walk into an agency and their tech stack is ridiculous. Like, we have this thing to do this, we have this thing to do this, we have this thing to do this. And we really don't know what problem we're solving, and we have these competing priorities. And then our customer is caught in the middle of our dysfunction because we don't know what we're doing. Our team isn't trained well enough to utilize the resources. So I think as an agency, you really, really have to step back, break it down to what is your single source of truth. Your single source of truth should be your agency management system. If it's not in the system, didn't happen, right? So our agency management system needs to be our source of truth. We need to understand now, outside of our agency management system, now, how do we power our team and how do we make a better customer experience, and what problem are we trying to solve? And then identify resources for that, not just the next bright, shiny object that everybody is talking about, Oh, I want to do that thing. And some of you agents out there watching this now, you know who you are. I'm talking to you.
Well, and sometimes they don't even consult their staff. They're just like, oh, right, that looks nice. Let me buy it. And then throw it at the staff for them to figure it out. But the staff already has something they use for that. And I get it if you're improving the processes, but just throwing all this technology at your staff without consulting them, you can overwhelm them.
I think that then goes back to, now we're creating these proactive relationships with clients, right? So we can handle upset clients by not allowing our clients to get upset in the first place.
Absolutely.
A lot of reasons why our clients are upset with us is because we have not been proactive and we have not reached out to them and they don't feel like we care.
Yes, 100%. And I wanted to mention when you and I started in the insurance industry, we didn't have all this crazy technology. I don't want to mention a specific one, but in AI, you could go in there and say, how do I explain this to a client? And it will pop up and tell you exactly how to explain it to a client. Now, you want to rephrase it, but it's a great resource to use when you are trying to just get your words together and figure out how to explain something. And the AI powered bots, you can say, how do I explain it to a client? And it'll dumb down the language for you to be able to explain it to a client. So that's something cool that you and I didn't have when we started in the industry. We had Google, but who thought about asking Google that kind of stuff? We really didn't think about it.
I had other account managers that I listened to. So just to like your point earlier, Therese, being in the room, learning by osmosis. I mean, I get remote work, right? I've worked remotely for 17 years before remote work was even really a big thing in the industry. But also, I ran a program for 6 years working with military spouses. And the first requirement was they had to sit in the office for 6 months to be able to do that learning by osmosis. Because there is nothing like learning from other people before you go out on your own. So I'm not saying that remote work can't be effective, but I think with newer people or you're transitioning into a new role, you need that.
I agree. You definitely need that. You need mentors. You need people that have been in the industry a long time. Now, don't put them with the Eeyores. Don't put them with the Eeyores. Make sure you put them with the Tiggers, not the Eeyores, the Tiggers.
You don't want to be installing bad habits.
Yes. But basically, like Bobby said, let's prevent future issues by being proactive, reducing client frustration, educating clients about policies, and setting clear expectations. Anything else to add, Bobby?
I don't think so. I think, always just be honest. I think when we come from a good place and we are honest and we're transparent and we really truly care if someone understands that comes across and people feel that you are genuine and they want to talk to you and it establishes trust. And that's how we're going to get through and manage some of these difficult conversations.
Well, and we are customer service representatives. So that in itself means that we really, really care about people and we need to let that show. Sometimes we try to block that off and no, I'm strong and but we need to be human. We need to show them that we're human and we need to show them that we care because people don't really care what you say. It's how you make them feel. Absolutely. So we'll end with that. Thanks so much for joining us today. Check out all of our stuff at agencyperformancepartners.com. I think we got the call grading form this month, December 2023. So check out that form to grade calls and you can have people grade their own calls. You don't necessarily have to grade it yourself. Have them listen to their own calls first because I know when I listen to my own calls, I'm like, oh my goodness. So I self-reflect on my own calls. So the admin doesn't even have to listen to them. I can self-reflect on my own. So thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you in the next one.